How to do a sonic rainboom by Book Player. Scootaloo had hurried back to Ponyville as soon as he heard the news. Even the Wonderbolts had gotten time off for the funeral. The note from Applebloom said it had been an accident, high winds that no pony had seen coming. Rainbow went in to try and fix the problem and went down over the everfree forest. By the time they found her, she was gone. Now, Scootaloo was standing in the bedroom she grew up in, obsessing over what to wear. It was never a big deal for her usually. For those days there were only two choices. Nothing but her orange coat or her uniform. Rainbow Dash had been so proud the first time she saw her in that uniform. She traveled all the way to Manhattan to see Scootaloo in her first show. Scoot flew her heart out for her idol that day. She sure was nervous, but she owed Rainbow Dash its show of her lifetime. She owed Dash everything, and she came through with that that day. But years later, the last time they had spoken, Scootaloo started to cry. She berated herself for the things she had said, and the way she had acted. If she had known what it was going to be the last time they had talked, she would have told her how much she meant to her, how much she loved her, how every time she put on that uniform she thought of Dash. Instead, she waved it in Dash's face, trying to guilt her, trying to hurt her, trying to force that one last lesson out of the pony that had taught her everything. It hadn't worked. Rainbow Dash got what she wanted in the end. The Sonic Rainboom was a legend now, and Rainbow Dash was the only Pegasus in recorded history to know its secret. Breaking the sound barrier wasn't easy, but any Wonderbolt could do it. They were the best flyers in Equestria after all. Scoot herself had done it nearly 100 times, from every angle, in every weather condition she could find. It made a loud noise and got her in trouble with the weather control all over Equestria, but it never produced the Sonic Rainboom. Her quest for the Sonic Rainboom started when she realized Dash had given up, and that she was never going to be a Wonderbolt. Scoot realized that day that she had won. She was better than Rainbow Dash. She was a Wonderbolt. She got the dream, and Dash was still pushing clouds around in Ponyville. But Dash had one trick, one amazing feat that Scootaloo couldn't. And come hail or high winds, Scoot wouldn't find it out. She wondered for a while if it was the mane or tail, so she took a week off once and dyed her hair all the right colors. Not only did it look awful, it made her feel like a bad imitation, and she still hadn't been able to do it right. She dyed it back before any pony saw her. Finally, she had come to her last theory. There was a trick to it, and Rainbow Dash had figured it out. It had to be something small, a twitch of the wings at the right moments, a snap of the tail, a change in velocity, something no one would even notice when she was traveling that fast, but one little thing that had to make the difference. She had asked Dash a million times, since she had learned how to fly, how to do one. Dash had always said it was her signature, and Scoot needed to find her own. This time, using a day of leave to visit Ponyville, Scootaloo was going to find the secret. She found Dash napping on a cloud. The weather control pony had always liked doing that part of her job, at least. Dash wasn't in her prime anymore, but she was still in good shape, and with the same vibrant colors and lean muscled build. But she seemed small to Scootaloo, who never got quite used to being taller than Dash, or to the effects that her hours of daily practice had on her orange body. Scoot landed right next to Dash and poked her. "Hey, tryouts are coming up. You want to go for it this year?" I'll check my calendar, see if there's anything to destroy in Equestria that week. If it's clear, I'll give it a shot." Scootaloo laughed. "Dash, you were helping Fluttershy with sick birds the year I tried out, and Pinkie Pie needed help making the world's biggest cupcake. I'm sure Equestria would have survived." Dash laughed and rose to her hooves, giving Scoot a friendly hug. Maybe not. You came here to guilt me into going out for the Wonderbolts at my age?" Scoot hugged back, then pulled away with a cocky smile. "No, I came here to tell you that I figured out how to do a Sonic Rainboom." Dash smirked and raised her eyebrows. "Let's see it then. Do a Sonic Rainboom for me." "I don't feel like it." Scoot said casually. Can't do it, Dash taunted. Can't do? It's all in the, well, you know. Do you ever have trouble with it? Scoot asked, trying to look as innocent as possible. Dash grinned. Nope, not once. Not once I figured it out. I'm not going to say anything else because you don't know what you're talking about. Fine, I don't, Scoot admitted. Don't you think it's time to teach me? Don't feel like it, Dash said, mimicking Scoot. Can't do it, Scootaloo shot back. Dash frowned a little. If you believe that, you wouldn't be here. If you only ever show up to bug me about this. Have you seen Apple Bloom or Sweetie Belle lately? Nah, not in time today. Why don't you just tell me? Scoot whined, even though it made her sound like an immature filly. Because it's my move, and it's going down in history as my move. You've already do things with that wow the crowds. That's not what Sonic Rainboom is for, really. Scoot rolled her eyes. Don't give me that, Dash. You've done a Sonic Rainboom to wow the crowds. Sort of, Dash said, then hesitated. But that was different. Why? Because it was you wowing the crowds and not me? Celestia forbid I outfly you. Dash sighed. Scoot, you're a Wonderbolt. You know every trick in the book. I've got one claim to fame, and I'm holding on to it. You get the Wonderbolts, I get my Sonic Rainboom. It's totally fair. You're just jealous because I got a Wonderbolt, and you're too lazy to even try out, Scootaloo snapped. At that, Dash narrowed her eyes. Keep telling yourself that, kid. Why would I be jealous of a little squirt who can do some fancy tricks? Maybe I never made it into the Wonderbolts, but I am the element of loyalty. I've saved the world a few times in my life, and I can do a Sonic Rainboom. I think if somebody's jealous, it's not me. I'm not jealous, Dash. I'm just ticked off that you're being so selfish. You want the Sonic Rainboom to become a legend again? Because that's what's going to happen if you don't tell some pony. Planning my funeral already? I'm not that old. Besides, some pony will figure it out one day. It isn't like raising the sun. I did it before I even had my cutie mark. You could even barely fly at that age. Dash smirked. She knew it would drive Scootaloo crazy when she brought that up. But Scoot wasn't going to be distracted. How is some pony going to figure it out? By accident like you did? You just got lucky. Dash seemed to think about that, and a smirk fell from her face. So did the anger. She didn't look sad, but she looked more serious than Scoot had ever seen her when she answered. I did, Scootaloo. I got really lucky that day. And right now, I don't think you can understand how lucky I got. And I don't think you could ever do a Sonic Rainboom. You just don't have it in you, kid. That was the last straw for Scoot. You're right. I'm better than you are. I'm better than you ever were. I'm not a coward for one thing. I'm a Wonderbolt. I went after my dream. I think you're the one who's not good enough. I bet you couldn't do a Sonic Rainboom anymore even if you wanted to. Oh yeah? Dash said. She still seemed serious. Yeah, Scoot said, unwilling to back down. Fine. You want to see a real Sonic Rainboom? This one's for you, Scootaloo. Rainbow Dash flew up into the air, higher and higher. Scoot could see that it wasn't easy for her, as easy as it had once been, as it still was for Scoot, but Dash was still a good flyer. Scoot was only a little worried that when she turned and went into her descent. Despite what she had said, she hoped that Dash knew what she was doing. She saw Dash picking up speed, and then fighting the force of the cone. Scoot watched closely, not even blinking, as Dash pushed through, breaking the barrier. And sure enough, the sky lit up with colors, and the rainbow trail darted across the sky. It was hard not to feel a sense of wonder in the presence of a Sonic Rainboom, and Scoot was momentarily humbled, but that was washed away by anger. If Dash wanted to take something this beautiful to her grave, to hide it away for who knew how long, then Scoot was finished with her. Scoot flew off before Dash came back, and neither of them so much as rode one another ever again. Scootaloo folded her uniform and left it on the bed. She wasn't wearing it today. She wasn't going to this funeral as Scootaloo the Wonderbolt. She had failed Rainbow Dash by doing things that way. She was going as Scoot the kid, Dash's student and biggest fan. She quickly ran her hoofs over her mane and hurried to the town hall for the funeral. The service was nice for that sort of thing. Princess Celestia gave the eulogy, Scoot stood between Applebloom and Sweetiebelle, though they each had their husbands on their side. Scootaloo didn't have anyone. There really wasn't any time between practices and shows. When it came time for Dash's friends to say a few words, they all stood up together. Fluttershy didn't even try to speak, and never stopped sobbing. Once Twilight Sparkle and Applejack had managed to be coherent when they spoke, and even they broke down several times and turned to the others for a shoulder and a hug. Scootaloo understood perfectly. Despite trying her hardest not to cry, she was relieved when Sweetiebelle pulled her close and handed her her tissue. After the service, they moved to the graveyard on the outskirts of town. Scoot had been there a few times, and she knew the graves that looked like what the graves there looked like. The gravestones were uniform and neatly kept. Even so, when she saw the fresh grave, she was shocked. The gravestone was too small in Scootaloo's mind. It should have been a monument, something enormous with a statue on top, or a torch that burned with rainbow-hued fire. Instead, they stood in front of a regular grey tombstone, in front of her freshly laid earth, carved with a cloud and lightning cutie mark, her name, and below that just a single word for an epitaph: loyalty. Scootaloo stared at the word for a long time as the other ponies laid flowers in front of the stone. She finally understood. Dash wasn't making excuses all those years. She hadn't tried out for the Wonderbolt because her friends needed her, and if her friends needed her, there was no choice for Dash. She was never bitter about it, never sad, because she was doing exactly what she wanted to. She was bearing an element of harmony into the world. Finally, something clicked. The sonic Rainbooms Dash had done. Scoot had kept track of all of them. The first one was for Fluttershy's honor. The second one saved Rarity's life. The third one was at the request of Princess Celestia. And then, there was the one that Dash did for her that day. Dash's challenge when Scootaloo lied about knowing how to do one. Let's see it then. Do a sonic Rainboom for me. Scootaloo took off, without a word to anyone else at the funeral, flying as high into the sky as she could. She had to be right. This was the secret. Every sonic Rainboom Scoot had ever tried had been for herself, to try and impress the world, to try and make herself special. Rainbow Dash had never done a sonic Rainboom for herself. Every one she'd done had been out of loyalty to some pony special to her. As Scootaloo reached the height she knew she'd need, she pivoted and started straight down. As the wind took her breath away, she felt the cone starting to form around her and put all into it. All of the love she had for Dash, all of her appreciation. This wasn't showing off. This was a memorial. A thank you for a lifetime of loyalty. She whispered, "For you, Rainbow Dash." She pushed the cone to its limit and felt it burst, a ring of colors spreading in all directions. Glancing back, she saw the rainbow trailing behind her, and she looped it through the sky. As she did, she could have sworn she felt a draft of wings beating above her. After a few moments, she landed to the stunned faces of every pony at the funeral. She was crying and out of breath and had no idea what to say. "She said that no pony else could do it," Twilight whispered, amazed. "Scootaloo, she told you how?" "Dash taught me a lot of things, and I'm still learning some of them. That was the last time. The sonic Rainboom was hers." Scootaloo paused for a moment, considering. She looked at the other element bearers, and thought hard about what Dash would want. Unless any of you wants to see one again, to remember her, I'll only do it for you, and for Rainbow Dash." Scoot bit her lip and rubbed her tears from her eyes, sniffling a little. She looked at the grave and finished. Because that's how you do a sonic Rainboom. The end.